I'd like to take a moment to address the families who lost loved ones in this tragedy. On behalf of the entire agency, we are so sorry for your loss. We wish we would have met you in different circumstances, but please know that we are working diligently to make sure we know what occurred, how it occurred, and to prevent it from ever happening again. On behalf of everyone at the NTSB, we also are providing a transportation disaster assistance team today to be here to provide support for each of you. Can our colleagues from TDA stand just to make sure you know where they are in the audience? If you need anything, please don't hesitate to call upon them. I also want to thank the American Red Cross for being here. Volunteer mental health clinicians from the Red Cross will be here for the duration of this hearing to provide emotional support for anyone attending. Again, please know that your loved ones are why we fight so hard for safety. They are why we are meeting here today for this investigative hearing. Thank you. I do also want to commend each of you for your remarkable selflessness. In the wake of a tragedy, you have courageously spoken out and advocated for important reforms to save lives and improve aviation safety. I hope the information that we uncover during this hearing will support your efforts. Among those who perished on January 29th were 3 brave and highly respected soldiers who dedicated their lives to defending our nation. To their families, I say, you made their service possible. Alongside our condolences, please accept our enduring gratitude on behalf of a grateful nation. The contributions of military families like yours, through your love, your support, and your resilience, cannot be overstated. I'd also like to acknowledge and honor the many active duty service members and military veterans here today, as well as their families. Thank you for your unwavering commitment to our nation. Each of us is forever in your debt. I specifically want to thank Colonel Matthew Parker. He was our party representative for the Army, and I appreciate your support. Finally, I also want to thank the first responders on behalf of the board. Over 90 organizations responded to the scene of this tragedy to support search and recovery efforts and assist us in our investigative work. Law enforcement, fire officials, dive teams, federal, state, and local agencies. We don't often talk about it, but they're human too. And what they experience can also be quite difficult. So thank you all for your public service, your dedication, and your heart.
Okay, so I'll ask you this question. There was a quote someone said, modernization decisions made this decade will affect the next generation of Army aviators. Do you remember that one?
Yes, sir, I wrote that article.
And that article described how we need to update and outfit with additional technologies?
Yes, sir. Blackhawks are going to fly for another 50 years, and so I think it's very, very pertinent and very vital to upgrade the Blackhawk fleet today so that we can have 60 mics and even more capable aircraft in the future.
So should the Limas be flying today?
If I was king for a day, I would take all the Limas out of the fleet today and replace them with mics and make them better so that our soldiers have the most effective lethal fighting aircraft. No, sir, I'm not.
We asked a question regarding the assistant low controller's expectations. Mr. Fuller, I know you've had an opportunity. You reviewed this event correctly in some way, shape, or form, had looked at the SRT and all of that?
Correct.
Okay. From your standpoint in ATO, did the assistant low controller meet the expectations of the air traffic organization that day?
From the perspective, again, without knowing what conversations took place in the tower, the only thing I've known is the interview notes. And from the interview notes, I think the assistant local controller didn't detect the conflict. Our expectation, if they had, is to alert the local. But again, not having been in the tower, I don't know if they were busy with other duties. So if they were providing other assistance, then yes, they met my expectations. But if they were merely just not working, then again, it's really unfair for me, the Monday morning quarterback, and knowing the result.
That's okay. Great. So could you just give us a brief explanation of the type facility DCA Airport Traffic Control Tower is, the primary services that you provide from that tower, or that tower provides, I should say, and is there anything unique about the DCA Airport Traffic Control Tower that you feel is important to be understood as we move into the questioning about the guidance and the procedures with DCA that you would just like to have at the head of that?
Yeah, good morning. DCA is a level 9 air traffic control tower only. It operates 3 runways in a north configuration and a south configuration. With that, we primarily are made up of airlines servicing the fixed-wing traffic, and then law enforcement, medevac, and the various armed services for a significant helicopter operation. With our airspace, there are various prohibited areas adjoining additional level Class Bravo airspaces. It makes up the Washington Tri-Class Bravo. And with DCA towers, unique in the lack of real estate that the airfield has, in the amount of operations that we run. With our ground control, it's unique that they are also ramp control and service the gates and the alleyways. As far as the local control or helicopter control, or both of them actually, in the airspace, operating with the prohibited areas, there's significant VIP flights. There are special missions. There are a significant amount of flybys that occur, so there's a lot of coordination and special operations that occur in the DCA Class Bravo.
You mentioned flybys. For those that might not be aware, what do you mean when you say flybys?
Flybys, we have those for special events, most recently the 4th of July events that transpired, as well as there are flybys at Arlington National Cemetery for fallen soldiers.
Okay, great. Thank you. And do you provide radar services at this facility?
We do.
Okay. And in this facility, the tower is equipped with control tower radar displays that are there for the use and controllers in providing services. Can you explain to us the primary use of these displays and how they are to be used by air traffic controllers to include their benefits as well as the limitations of their use?
Yeah, so our certified tower radar display has a map of the general area, the adjacent facilities, and prominent landmarks. It helps with situational awareness and workload. It is incorporated in what air traffic controllers have as part of their scan. They'll scan that, grab information from it. They'll scan, look out the window. They'll utilize their strips. We have the ASD, the Airport Surface Detection Equipment. It is one tool that comprises the overall scan and how we operate the facility.
Thank you. And one last one in this area, if you could explain for us the positions that you staff in this tower, or that this tower staffs for operating services in a normal configuration. If you could just kind of step us through what those positions are and basically their function in the tower.
Yep. So we'll start with local control. So they are operating the runways, clearing folks to land, clearing them to take off. There is assistant local control. They're an extra set of eyes for the local controller. They help provide sequencing for the departures and the arrivals, and they coordinate with the adjacent facilities or adjacent positions within the tower cab. The ground controller, like I said earlier, operates all the aircraft on the ground as well as provides ramp control for the airfield. There's the helicopter position that controls the helicopters in the Class Bravo airspace as well as the Delegated Security Services airspace. We have a clearance delivery flight data position that maintains the weather, assists with traffic management duties, as well as amending and providing clearances for IFR aircraft. Traffic management unit, they as it says in the title, They assist with anything traffic management related, whether it's getting release times for departures, initiating programs for DCA, and coordinating things of that nature. And then there would be a supervisor or controller in charge that would oversee the entire operation and provide oversight.
What is the basic difference between a supervisor or a controller in charge?
Supervisor would be a management personnel that is overseeing the operation. If one is not available, a controller can be placed as controller in charge to fill that position.
I assume there's a qualification process to be a controller in charge. It's not just any controller could do that duty, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
If I may add some context, again, yes. When you talk about the specific helicopter routes, and the discussion was not meant to say that helicopter operators don't need to follow the routes and can just go willy-nilly around the Class Bravo. But again, there are no defined widths on the helicopter routes. The altitudes, even on the different helicopter charts as published, if you look at the Dallas-Fort Worth helicopter charts, the language on the altitude says should be 1,300. It's a gap we've identified. We are working to close that with our National Helicopter Work Group. We therefore, if an aircraft drifts off the bank of the river and drifts toward the center of the river, how could we therefore violate that pilot for doing something to remain clear of clouds or avoiding traffic? It's not to say that these helicopter routes shouldn't be followed, but it's just to say that as an air traffic controller, if you are depending on that route width definition for separation or the altitude for separation, you need to take positive control and provide clear, consistent instructions, consistent with the phraseology in the Class Bravo airspace that says, via route, maintain altitude while in Bravo airspace.
But we do have plenty of operators who do not accept it.
So I'm going to remain with you. Have you experienced concern while operating here in the DCA airspace? Have you experienced concern with the application of visual separation, whether pilot applied or tower applied, just from your point of view within this airspace? And do the concerns lie more with one entity or the other? Like, is there one particular unit or a group of units or a type or a facility? Is there anything, or is it just all over the map?
Generally speaking, I think it works very well.
Okay.
It has enormous challenges in a night environment. Whether on goggles or off goggles, it's very simple to understand whether north ops or south ops are being used at DCA. It is, I mentioned yesterday, it's still remarkably hard to identify aircraft when you are flying, whether it's the background or a whole host of reasons. It can be very challenging, I think, as every pilot would say. We use traffic alerts and traffic monitoring systems in our helicopters, all the DC operators, the civilian and law enforcement side, and it is exceptionally challenging when you have particular units that don't broadcast using ADSB. Our systems are not TCAS-2, so we do not take in Mode S or Mode C transponders. We rely upon ADSB. And when you cannot see an aircraft and you've been asked if you can identify traffic and you can't see it, and in your visual scan and then scan your instruments and still can't find the aircraft, it can be very challenging.
So in your experience flying in the airspace here, do you feel more or less comfortable when you hear air traffic control or a pilot request visual separation and an air traffic controller approve that, and it could impact you? Do you get a feeling of comfort, discomfort? How does it affect you?
If I know right away the other operators. There are really only a dozen helicopter operators in this area, and know most of them either personally or by voice. I also know all the tower controllers by voice, and they know all of our voices. We have pilots who've been here and members of our group at 38 years, 28 years. I have several pilots at 28 years. My first trip to the DCA tower, one of the controllers who'd been there forever could imitate some of our voices to a T. She could mimic our voices, and we love them. So when I know the tower by voice, and I know the unit, the particular aircraft that on the other end is accepting visual separation from me. I think it works very, very well, and I have extreme confidence in it.
Is there any unit that when you hear it makes you feel uncomfortable?
Sadly, yes. And as I said yesterday, I don't like saying this. I'll say it again on the record. I'm a former Army aviator, and I'm a retired Air Force officer. And I don't like saying that first heli of the USAF from Andrews, and I don't like saying that 12th Aviation Battalion gives us all pause in the community. And I'm speaking for my group there. We are all very uncomfortable when those two units are operating.
Is the DCA airspace safe to fly in?
I'd like to answer that question.
That'd be great, thanks.
Absolutely, it's safe to fly in.
Mm-hmm.
I flew out myself this weekend, round trip. I plan to do so in another few weeks. The U.S. is one of 193 countries in the world, but we operate and maintain and safely provide air traffic services to about 28 to 36% on any given day of the world aviation traffic. The controllers at DCA are responsible, well-trained, and I would have no problem leaving out on a flight in or out of that airport at any given day.
The question about whether the airspace was safe, but do you feel that making it work at the DCA tower are we chipping away at safety? Are we becoming, are we at risk for other errors because of this normalization of these non-standard techniques and making it work?
Whenever the controllers at DCA just make it work, they are going above and beyond to approach the limit of the rules and regulations. They're approaching their limits of what can be done to safely and efficiently move the aircraft and or helicopters at DCA. Was there a second part?
Well, I guess what I'm trying to get at is, do you feel that we're chipping away at safety by making it work?
You're pushing the line.
Okay.
We have efficiency, being challenged with safety. And it's a fine line, and that demand is pretty high. The controllers do a remarkable job there. But it's at a pretty high threshold right now.
That said, every person we spoke with cited staffing as a significant concern. And there was and basically stated there was a lot more to staffing than authorized versus on board. Okay? So, and I think even you were explaining this to us. So can you help us understand the staffing concerns that you had at the time and tell us why, if your authorized was 28 and your on board was 26, why did you feel that staffing was an issue? Could you explain to us how that plays out?
Yeah, there's many factors, variables that go into staffing. So we were authorized 28, and we had a number relatively close to that. I can't recall the exact number. But with that, folks can be on different types of leave, whether it's military leave. There could be release dates coming up, so we know that we have a person and we're going to lose that person. There is paid parental leave available as a benefit. And when you're looking at the staffing, you can kind of look into the future and see if, this person counts towards the CPC number, but there are extra variables where they're part of the whole number, but yet they're unable to be in the operation on the daily schedule.
Okay. And in the most recent numbers we've received from the FAA for DCA, if I'm not mistaken, they're showing the authorized at 30. And Mr. Fuller, you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm sure you're on top of these. So the authorized is 30, and the onboard is, I want to say 26. Is that right, Mr. Fuller? The problem that we see is that when we look at all those, they have 19 operational, which means that they have 19 that can actually plug in, work a position, and staff the schedule. How many shifts do you have to fill in a day, Mr. Allen, at DCA?
Including supervisors and TMU, you would want 9 people in the morning, 9 on the evening shift, and then you would have 2 for the mid. So that's a total of 20.
Yes, and I believe that in the actual documents that were given, just the CPC staffing was 16 shifts in a day. And so if you have 19 operational controllers and you're filling 16 shifts in a day, now we can start to see why probably controllers are saying staffing is a problem, right? Is that accurate? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
That would be accurate.
Okay.
I do want to make it clear that I'm here on behalf of myself, not on behalf of my employer, Leidos. The health of the facility, as far as the certified professional controllers, that has always been on the lower number of staffing, not necessarily healthy. It's cost of living is high there, hard to attract those folks. Also, the administrative staff, it was my biggest concern. I had been asked by a general manager at one point to look into see do they need a second operations manager, and I took a quick look and the answer was yes, they do. No action was ever taken on that. They had a couple support staff folks at one point, and one I think retired, another one was we'll say relocated, and then they went without any staff specialists for approximately 3 years. Those duties fell to the operations manager and a support manager, as well as the air traffic manager. And that was a concern of mine. I brought that to many attention, every opportunity I had. And at one point I was told to quit bringing it up.
Mr. Jarvis, do you feel that impacted the training program at DCA?
Absolutely. There was not enough folks to manage the training that needed to take place.
So you're telling me today they're still flying more operations than what you recommended in 2022-23?
Yes. I've had multiple conversations, and multiple conversations have gone nowhere.
And what you raised as that manager at that time, you felt was a safety issue related to arrivals into DCA?
Yes.
A quality control manager was put in place, and just from my perspective, they lacked quality control knowledge, and therefore would be ineffective to that district. There were a couple of staff specialists that were assigned at Potomac. There were no those staff specialists were never relocated to any other facility that I'm aware of on any type of regular basis, and I'll leave it at that.
What does everyone else think? We just make it work. The people who actually work in the tower.
There's only one there.
What does that mean?
At Potomac, we have similar issues that DCA Tower has. We have many non-standard tools that we use in order to be able to bring a significant amount of airplanes into DCA. One of them is nicknamed a trombone. They come off of one of our feeds. We take them down like this, then take them back up the same way that they came. We trombone them in order to build in space. Not too many facilities do such a thing. There is a second one called cross-feeding that we do every day. Tromboning is not as much, but it's probably done once a day or twice a day. So these are non-standard air traffic maneuvers that we do on a daily basis to make it work. And I agree with Nick, we take pride in it, but I will say that at a certain point it's too much.